everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Right Track. What's up, Jenn D'Spain?
Hola!
How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. I am so happy to be here with you, Paloma. Finally, we did it!
I know, finally we booked you for the show. I'm so excited. And per our conversation earlier, you are out in the country.
Yes, I am. So I hope our connection is good. I'm out in Bandera, Texas now.
Right. And you just moved there from Austin, right?
Yes, I lived in Austin for 9 years. And when we met right before that, I was living in the Bay Area, but I'm originally from Miami, Florida. I did quite a bit of traveling in between. All of that brought me full circle back in the country on a ranch. So I keep telling everybody my husband brought me back home. So
Oh, that's so cute. Well, good. So I have so many questions I want to ask you. You have done so much in your career. And I mean, from literally everything from Miss Texas to American Idol to the freaking circus, right? Barnum and Bailey Circus, or am I saying that right? Barnum and Bailey?
It's a tough one. I know.
Yeah, it's like a tongue twister for me. And you had a residency singing in a lounge in Austin and everything. So again, I have so much I want to ask you, and I'm really excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I love you. This is awesome.
Too. Well, just for a little background on Jenn, she and I know each other personally because at one point we were both signed to the same management company. So
Yay! Robert Hayes. Cheers to you.
Management, Robert Hayes, Robert and Ron, and Brody Stewart and Mike Bell and everybody, Cassidy, everyone at the sound management. So I actually was privileged to meet Jenn in the sound management studios. I saw you recording songs in the studio, and I got to learn a little bit about you. And I thought one of the really, really cool things was your transition from American Idol to the circus. Now, I don't know if you signed some NDA where you're not allowed to talk about what happened with American Idol. Have you?
No, you can ask away.
Okay.
But I couldn't do anything for a year after I was done with American Idol. But after that, they set them free.
Right. Okay. So my main thing is this: for anybody who's looking to, be on one of these competition shows, do you think they realize that after you're done with the show, they actually, you're contractually obligated not to release music for a little while? Isn't that what happened? Which is why you ended up doing the circus thing?
Yes. And I was actually the youngest contestant in American Idol. I was 17 at the time in the second season. The group with Ruben Studdard and Clay Aiken, Randy Jackson, Paula, and Simon were the judge at the time. And it was only the second season. I don't really like to tell everybody because I feel like it's been so many years already.
You're like, not to date myself, but
it's like yesterday.
Yes.
But no, really, I think back then they only had clearance to about 100 songs at the time. So we had to be selective about what song choice. It was everything if you chose the wrong song, but they only got to clear a certain amount of songs that they could air on their show. Now everybody's like giving their songs away. I mean, it's even to the point where people are signing contracts and they're doing their own original material. And if you do an original song on their show, it no longer belongs to you anymore. They own the rights to everything if you do an original song on their show. But people are so desperate now that they want to do that. I almost wanted to go back on to another show like The Voice or something. And I was like, maybe I'll do one of my original songs. And I remember asking Robert, he's like, no, don't do that. Why would you do that? Like, that's what everybody got desperate over.
Yeah.
The pandemic.
Robert's not a fan of talent shows.
Yeah, no, he's like, no, why? Don't even bother.
Yeah.
And anyway, since I was the finalist on American Idol, I couldn't go back again. But being in the top 30, it did help my career in a lot of ways. But you do have to sign a lengthy contract, and you can't do anything for a year after.
Why do you think they do that? Why do you think they ask the contestants who were finalists not to release music for a year?
Well, I think it's probably because they don't want to get anything in the way of what direction their artist is going to go. I will have to say, with American Idol, I feel like they've discovered more talent than all the other shows. They actually have music put out. They something behind their production team or whoever sponsors these artists and pushes them forward. Like their stuff is known and put out that whole year. Like right after you hear their song, like there are a lot of artists discovered through Idol. Like
Do you
I think,
remember Latoya London?
yeah, they did
Season,
such.
I think it was season
Oh,
3. I interviewed
yeah,
her on
I
the
saw the
show.
interviews. I saw that you did. It was really good. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, she saw another American Idol chick. That's so cool.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, again, it's like, what's the point of having you, Jen? Why weren't you able to release music for a year after? I mean, didn't that hurt you a little bit? I mean, you had this big name, right? You made a name for yourself, and then a lot of people knew you, and then all of a sudden you couldn't put out music. How did that affect you?
I don't know. I mean, I got to pick the house and look at everything at what the top 10 we're going to do. They gave us a BlackBerry phone and it worked for an entire year. It was like provided through AT&T and T and everything. And as soon as like that contract was over from the year, it was like, boom, done, cut off, right? But I mean, that whole year when I went back home, I was still working at Ruby Tuesdays, serving tables and bartending and stuff. And I remember just the place packed up so bad that I wasn't able to wait tables anymore. It was out of control where I was hiding in the back with my manager going, I can't make any money. Like if the next person who asks me what was Simon like, I'm going to die. Like I'm quitting. I'm
Oh
quitting.
my gosh. So like people knew you so well that it was literally difficult to have a regular job.
Everybody was coming there and it was so busy. And my manager's like, all right, go to table 102. They want to talk to you. And I was like, what the hell?
They're like, sing us something, right?
It was so funny. Like I was the Homestead Idol is what everybody was saying. Cause
Yeah.
Homestead is like it's like the country out of basically out in the Everglades is where I grew up. And it's right before the Keys. It's kind of like Miami, Homestead, and
Mhm.
then the Florida Keys, and that's kind of like where I grew up, and there was not much out there,
Yeah.
and yeah, I just became kind of like the girl next door working at this restaurant that everybody wanted to go to, and I remember literally quitting because I couldn't handle just the anxiety from it, and I wasn't really close to my family at the time, and everything was just kind of falling apart in my life with boyfriends and just like college and what am I going to do? And now this didn't work out for me as I really wanted it to. Is I have to go back to school, and I did, and I just kind of grinded by myself. And reality hit when I tried to rekindle a relationship with my mom, and if anything, I just had to wait for that year to pass with that contract because I wasn't exclusive anymore. And this opportunity came up for me to audition for Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey Circus.
Mhm.
And it couldn't have come at a better time. Like I really was at like my lowest of lows in my life and kind of just gave everything up and ran away with the circus. And I was
Yeah.
happy because my time
Literally ran away with the circus.
literally
And so you toured with them for their US
4 years.
tour, right?
Yeah, it was for 4 years, the
4 years.
134th edition and the 136th edition. And
Mhm.
I'll tell you, they love the whole American Idol thing. They plug that quite a bit as a finalist. So there are a lot of perks of of that having that experience and getting on a tour like that was really huge. And I remember my agency at the time, like I literally talked myself out of it. I canceled my audition. I got cold feet. I didn't think I was cut out for such a big role, and this was a worldwide audition, and all of the owners were there from Feld Entertainment for the audition, and I really got scared, and I was like, this isn't something that I felt like I could do and I was ready for. And I remember there were just like little family, some certain people in my life that hung out with me that stayed along the way, really encouraging me to keep going. We're like, you can't cancel this thing. You got to go to Orlando and try
Mhm.
and audition for this, and you never know. And you fit all these specs, and you can do it. And I got a vocal coach and paid a little extra to practice on my audition and what I was gonna do. And I got the job the same day of the audition and literally was already on the road 2 weeks right after that.
Wow. You just
Really,
picked up and went with it. And so tell me a little bit about what it's like to be a performer in a circus environment. I mean, obviously you're around animals, probably, right? And all these different performers. My mind goes to like water for elephants right away, but is that the vibe or
it's
what's
got
it like?
that story. It's just really crazy. Sometimes I wonder why I still haven't finished this book that I wanted to write. Or I already wrote, but I've changed it a million times because my life keeps changing. But the circus was one of the best times of my life. I literally moved onto a mile-long train and joined the circus. I became a songstress of the circus for the 134th edition, singing alongside the ringmaster. And then I re-signed a contract where they built a show around my talent and for the Circus of Dreams, and became the songstress of the circus. And they were really evolving and changing and going to like a storyline plot, which is something that they never did. So they
Mhm.
did away with the three ring circus for the first time in history. And I was like kind of like the storyteller, or just like the mistress of ceremonies for the
So
show.
so what kind of songs were you singing? Inspiring, follow your dreams type of songs, right? Or
At first, it was like literally circus songs that kept me up at night, that I couldn't get out of my head. It was really creepy, and I was afraid of clowns, and I was afraid of the world, and I don't know. The first couple years, I was terrified. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I hadn't even been to the circus my whole life. And so I didn't, honestly, they got me for dirt cheap because I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But
Mhm.
then when I learned the ropes a little bit more, I was like, wait a minute, I can negotiate these things into my contract, or I could be the star of this show. And I started to build confidence and started to feel like I could carry something and be something bigger in this show. And I think after getting this far in my career, some of the directors saw a potential for a storyline of like of what I used to do for pageantry was mentoring children. And so I used to go to schools and read to all the kids about the mentors or the makers of our future. And so they tied in that whole platform in my storyline of following your dreams, and the circus of dreams came to fruition. And so they wrote this whole storyline around based around my life, and this little boy that didn't know what he wanted to be in the circus of dreams, and he becomes king of the circus. And so I get a fake family from the audience, and I turn them into different things in the circus of dreams. And that's kind of how the storyline came to be. And I feel like I got to share that through all the cities that I went through traveling through the circus about that story. And they made a little book, and I got to go to libraries and do lots of interviews like crazy. And it was a whole whirlwind of dreams. I mean, I turned 21 in the circus, so it was kind of like my college time. So I was
Yeah.
having a good time and enjoying my life and traveling, which is something I always wanted to do. But I also was living my dream. There was no better education than learning how to tour and take care of my instrument and learn how to use it in a big venue like Madison Square Garden, or all these big
Right.
places in DC that were huge. And I had no idea that I could just like throw that you could throw someone in there. But when you're young and you have this like drive and stamina, and I really didn't have anything attached behind me, I was like, let's do this. I guess, you can kind of manage someone like that, and it worked out, and it was just exciting. It was an amazing time of my life. I
Can
learned
you
so
recall, oh, sorry. Can you recall like any specific moment or night that you performed that was just like magical?
yeah, I think sometimes I don't know how to like top this moment, because I had to do all of the interviews for radio and TV, and sometimes they'd fly me into some cities before the circus was going to arrive. So I did a lot of traveling too, um, apart from being with the show. And I remember being in New York when I woke up before doing like I don't know, a 4 a.m. radio interview or something. I can't remember what it was for, but I remember waking up, and you know how sometimes they put the newspapers on floor in front of the bedroom, or like in front of your doorway at the hotel.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had the I think it was not the New York Times, but it was like USA Today. That paper was at the front of everybody's doorway in the hallway early in the morning because they dropped it off. And my picture was on the cover of the newspaper with the Circus of Dreams, that big circus famous dress. And I was like, oh shit, this is really cool. And I just kind of messed up my makeup and I was all by myself. So I couldn't really like soak that in with anybody, but just go, does this mean like kind of made it? Like everybody's going to see my picture in the front of the newspaper. Oh my God, this is so cool.
It
And
sounds like you've been featured in a bunch of stuff. I mean, you were all over the place for a minute there, right?
Cool.
I mean,
Like that, they really had amazing publicists and PR directors that I worked with, and I was interview trained and learned how to just be just a host for their show and spokesperson, because I also had to understand just like the animals were a big aspect, because there were lawsuits going around left and right, and I think I got there right when they were starting to evolve, and I don't think they were really educating their audience at the time. And so I think now as I look back at it, I think I was like an advocate to really help people still come to the show and have the storyline and get lost in everything, but they weren't really educating everybody about animals, and it was almost like too late. And I think that was already happening until, just not too long ago they closed
yeah.
and shut down. So
Yeah. Yeah.
mhm.
Well, back to the dress. Is it true that the dress is in a museum
It
somewhere?
is. It's in two different museums right now. It's in Sarasota, in Florida, at the headquarters. They have like a museum over there for the circus, and there's a few other ones. And Baraboo is another one.
How
I
can the
believe
same dress be in two places?
well, they have different outfits, I guess,
Ah,
and
okay.
the costume designers have made a dress. I
Uh-huh.
know that I have different costumes that I wore. I had 5 different costume changes for the second show. Um, and that was very interesting. But the big Circus of Dreams dress right now was shipped over to New York City. It's at the Showstoppers Museum in New York. It's a
Can you
temporary.
briefly describe it?
It's really cool. I'll never forget another really awesome time was in New York City. I felt like Cinderella because they have like these underground factories that they take you in, and you're with these Emmy award winning designers, and they're all coming up to you and measuring you and trying all these fabrics, and it was exciting. I mean, I had never experienced anything like that. I felt like a princess, and this dress that they were trying to create was part of the opening number, and I was the national anthem girl, so I had to sing the national anthem a cappella before every show. That's like over 2,000 times like in a year. It's insane trying to do that. That alone killed me, but anyway. That it's red, white, and blue, and it said circus on it. And after I finished the opening number, I open it up and it has like these little sticks in it somehow that they created it so I can open the dress and hold it up where it says circus. But then as
Oh,
soon as that number is happening, nobody can see it happen. But when the elephants come out, everybody's like, oh, the elephants. And while nobody's really paying attention to me,
uh-huh.
it tears open into a second outfit, and I throw it to a clown that's down there off of the platform that I'm on, and it turns into a different outfit because I have these little like skirt kind of short outfit
Yeah.
underneath the Circus of Dreams dress. So it's actually 2 different outfits in one.
Okay. Well, that's I mean, what a cool experience, and especially a very unique experience. Something that, I mean, how many stones can you throw to find somebody that has actually been in the circus circuit, if you will? I mean, that's really cool. But let's put the circus to bed for a second. And I want to talk about your original art. I mean, when I met you, you had worked with Brody on the Angel song. Do you remember that one?
Angel, give me
Angel
wings.
give me wings. And gosh, I remember listening that while I was watching you guys work on it. And I mean, I think when I heard it completed, I almost cried. I'm not gonna lie. It's
I
just
don't.
so
He is a genius.
beautiful.
like that song couldn't have come to me at a better time because I was going through so many changes in my life, and I didn't really know that I could be an artist. And he was like, I have a song for you that I know is just going to hit home for you because you're just like getting these wings, you're about to fly, and like things are holding you in this place. And it was just like,
Were you leaving a relationship at the time as well?
kind of. I mean, I think that's the weird thing is that when I started focusing on myself, I think that's when my marriage started to fall apart. And I actually, just for the people who are listening, I was married to the elephant handler in the circus and went by Jennifer Hayward when I was doing my whole country thing when we left the circus and moved to California when we met. And yeah, I mean, we started this whole original project, and I really wasn't sure what I was going to do when I left the circus. And so the song came to me at such a very important time in my life where it really hit home. And I think everything about that song was awesome other than the music video with my 80s
Blush.
blush. Holy shit, do you remember that music video?
I do. I do. I actually just watched it this morning.
I don't know what we did with that. I don't know if we were gonna go back and edit
Yeah.
or something, but
The
Jesus,
gold
was like
blush.
serious makeup. That's the only thing I could say was hell. That was bad.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. It was just, you know, it was just the times. It's the times.
But man,
But
I don't remember whose truck that was, but I love that truck.
yeah, yeah. And like, so but that's not the only original track you've done. Like, do you remember Wahida, which was somewhat recently?
Yes,
You
yes.
got more into the Latin thing.
I know.
Right?
When I did this Angel Give Me Wings, I was in this whole world like I really want to go to Nashville. I really want to try this country thing. Like that's where my heart is. I love country music so much. I've always wanted to do it. And I just kept doing that in town in California, just like country rock stuff and like whatever spoke to me. But I realized all the music I had recorded before as a kid and growing up in Miami, I'm Latina, you know. I'm like, why am I not doing what is my roots? Like why am I not singing Spanish music? And I realized when I moved to Texas, it's just the audience here and just the way people receive Latin music is so huge. It's and amazing how people receive it, and it's so beautiful and how proud people are. And oh my gosh, everybody loves Selena. It's crazy. And my stepmom is Mexican. My background is Cuban. My mom's side is like there's the Spanish side of the background. So I have this mix of Latin culture that of music that I grew up to. I was like, let me try and write some Spanish songs, you know? And that's how Wahida came to fruition out here in Texas. And it was kind of me calling myself the Wahida. And I don't know.
I figured when I listened to it, I was like, you know, because I speak Spanish, so I understood the lyrics, and I was like, I think she's describing herself. It was like nothing can touch her.
Yeah, I was like, this is full circle. I'm like, this is kind of like the farm girl that didn't have a care in the world, barefoot girl on a farm, growing up as a kid, and here I was just reliving that in my music, and I started writing it like that, and I was still just like walking on fire and just like not having a care in the world and didn't care where the music was going to go or who was going to listen to it and how it would just translate to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I swear they were just like so cheesy, like 2-3 chord kind of progressions that were just really simple. And I worked with this amazing talented Johnny Vogelsang, and he just brought these songs to life and made them so much better than what I thought I could really put out there. And that's how all these songs came together, and the final product of that was really, really cool.
Yeah, I was really proud of you when I heard it.
I wish I would have pushed it out a little more, but I swear after a year, then the pandemic hit, and I was just starting to get like some following with Wahida, and it really put it out like an EP, and I didn't know if I was going to make a full-length album. So what I think I might do next is just record the rest of the original stuff that I've been working on and tie that in with the Latin stuff that I have. So I might have like an English Latin kind of flair album happening soon.
Good. Hey, we could work together.
Yes.
We could feature on each other's tracks or help each other write.
I'm your biggest cheerleader, girlfriend. I've been watching you.
Oh, I'm yours.
What you're doing.
Yes, I mean, I know that we've both, been in each other's spheres for so long and watching each other do stuff. I'm always following you and seeing what you're up to. And so, um, well, so tell me a little bit about the music scene in Austin. I mean, for anyone who wants to move there and do music, what's it like?
It's the music capital of the world. And now I'm living in Cowboy, Texas, capital of the world. And I don't know which one I like better. I found myself a cowboy and I think I'm going to stay here and just visit the music capital of the world now.
Yeah. But I mean, you obviously you got there, you had expectations.
I think I was telling you earlier how when I first wanted to move here, I didn't want to have a job. That I had to have a job when I got here. And I couldn't move here without one. And I started just making some contacts and I got into the cover scene right away. And so weddings pay really well, private events and corporate parties. And that was my saving graces when I first got here. And it was so fun. And it honestly taught me a lot about my voice and what I could do with my instrument because I never really sung the greats of all these top 40s and music that I never thought my voice could really reach or my range could reach. And it's basically what I grew up with as a kid and with my dad and all the records and everything in Motown and Aretha Franklin and all of that. I mean, people are jamming and all of this at all the weddings. And that's what I started learning when I first moved to Austin. And so honestly, doing that it's a very small town. It's just like Nashville. I mean, if you once you're in and there's always work. It's a small community. I'm really grateful to be a part of it, and there's always gigs available here and there.
Is it
And
true there's live music anywhere you go? I mean,
pretty
on
much
any given night? I mean, what's it like going out in Austin? Like there's just gigs there's just live music everywhere. I've
there's
actually never been.
oh my god, you need to come. It's I mean, if there's a festival going on, it's not like it used to be, but it's just such a beautiful town. I think it's one of the prettiest skylines I've ever seen in any city that I've toured around in the United States. Um, Apart from, I'm trying to think, maybe I have a special place for Washington D.C. I really love D.C. I don't know what it is, but it's just such a clean, beautiful city, and you can get the public transportation there is just amazing. You don't even need to have a car. But in Austin and Texas, you do. Like everything, I really think you need a car to get around here in this town. Um, and what's cool about Austin is like San Antonio, Dallas, and Houston are not that far away, and they're also big, beautiful cities that you can also work out of. And when I first moved here, I feel like, I don't know, I wasn't received really well because I guess I had a website and I had music out already, and my business sense was intact. And here there weren't any labels at the time.
You
Now
told me about this. You said someone actually kind of dissed you for having the
they were like,
website
"Go
and the
to your
presence that you have.
website somewhere else. We don't want you here." And I was like, "What is this about?" And I guess I have a new respect for it, and I understand. I mean, there's so many hardworking musicians that just do their time, and I feel like I did that when I first got here, and I took the $100, $150 gigs that were bottom of the barrel, but you
So
just gotta
let
do
me
it.
ask you, so the culture there is basically work your way up in an indie type of way. Don't just try to show up with your accolades and your website and think that that's going to work. Is that what I'm getting from you?
You know what, I thought that, but I was just being myself, and I was just like, I'm not gonna let that guy phase me. And after a couple years of being here, only 2 years, I landed my True Lux gig downtown, and it's one of the highest, best paying gigs. And I was there for 7 years. I had a 3-night residency, and people were saying, "Well, dang, girl, you got it made." Like, because you have to really work really hard to get that kind of pay. And I felt like I was back on tour again, getting the same amount of pay, but I didn't have to do 13 shows a week and travel around the world. I only got to drive 10 minutes down the road. And
Yeah.
excuse me.
Well, also, I mean, so basically you're doing 3 nights a week, you're getting paid really well at True Lux. And I remember you advertising the gigs and stuff. And I was like, gosh, if I was in Austin, I would go. But I mean, we should also mention that you're also a mom, and how convenient is that to be a mom and then drive down the street and work? I mean, at something you love to do, right?
We didn't really choose, like, both of us, we didn't choose like the easiest career. It's very male driven, male dominant, and it's huge like that here in Austin too. And so, you have to deal with lots of egos and crazy stuff. When I first got here, and like, how am I going to pull together a band and keep it together, and all this testosterone and babies and trying to take care of babies. I'm like, I have my own kid to take care of. This was exhausting, and it was like really, really hard to manage and do the business side of keeping a band together when I first got here. That it just really, honestly, just fell apart, and I just really didn't know myself, and I think I was just, um, God, I was such a pushover, and just everything would slide, and it would just all fall apart, and I just couldn't really hang with the boys and really keep something like that together. People I just really didn't know or didn't respect me because I just really, quite honestly, I didn't respect myself. I was just a single mom on my own. When I got divorced, it was just me and June. My daughter's 9 now, but when I think of it, I was just kind of, going with the
Mhm.
rolling with the punches and life and and I really didn't know myself. I really was just still figuring out what is Jennifer going to do next. And I think I was in this comfort zone of having this job that was I know the best part of town in Austin, but I was kind of just comfortable. So I wasn't really working on, it was a distraction, quite honestly, from really me working on myself. And so, quite honestly, just towards the very end of me leaving True Lux, right before the pandemic, is when Wahida started happening. And I said, you know what? I really need to work on this music, and I really need to try and create something. And I think, Latin is where my heart is, my roots are. I'm going to write about it. And it was going so well. I sold out a few shows at Parker Jazz Club. It was right across the street. All of my fans were like, we want to see you with a real band, a live band. So I threw that together, and it was beautiful. I mean, I'd never been in a room like Parker Jazz Club where I had to talk one-on-one with an audience.
Mhm.
Honestly didn't mind being drowned out as wallpaper music or having a big venue of people because their focus wasn't on me. And I realized how nerve-wracking and how crazy it was to just be alone with a microphone, one on
Yeah.
one with someone, and what I say really is important. And that banter was something that I got to work on for a few years at
Mhm.
Parker Jazz Club, where all of a sudden it was like it turned into a comedy show and a jazz show and Celia Cruz tributes and Selena. Like, I just started having so much fun there and trying to figure out who Jennifer was. And while that whole journey was happening for me, I met my husband, and just like I feel like I think once I had some time to work on myself, and I also was single for a year, I needed that time, and just it, I don't know, I just think things just needed some time, and especially this pandemic definitely made me focus a little more inward on learning how to be creative. And
Mhm.
I just really didn't know I could be an artist, and I forced myself to be alone with my thoughts and write. So I finally am playing guitar, Paloma. You be proud of me. I'm working
Woo!
on it. It's
Yes.
exciting.
We're running a little short on time. So I want to ask you, just like, what is next for you? Are you going to be dropping some originals here?
Yes, yes. I've written some really cool songs that I think are a little more vulnerable and raw. I've never done that before. So just really practice. I'm just gonna keep practicing until I'm happy with it. And I've I'm really most excited about this recording studio that we're putting together because I've worked so much behind the scenes that I think I have a chance to really produce something and do more voiceovers and have a studio of my own to create. And
Mhm.
I'm just so anxious for that chapter in my life to see where that's going to take me. So I will keep everybody posted as this little baby starts to grow.
Yes,
It's
we're
really
all excited to see and hear the new
so in the
music.
meantime, you can watch me doing commercials on TV because
Right.
that's my wheelhouse. I've embraced the mom role. Let me tell you.
I
Yeah.
love it. I
I'm
love
I'm
that.
almost reaching like the 45 bracket. I'm like, that's where I'm gonna cut you all off, okay? Because they're putting me in these like little baby blue cardigans and shit. So I got
That's
this.
so funny. I mean, I've seen that you've been doing a lot of commercial work,
Oh,
but I mean,
yeah,
it's
I
hey, it's
cut
good
my
gig.
hair short and I'm casting for all these mom roles. And I was like, you know what? I am a mom and I am, and that's what it is. It's not acting. It's literally just how are you when you interact with your friends and who you are now. And if you can
Mhm.
bring that across the camera, they seem to like the mom thing and I've been booking like crazy. So
That's good.
as
Well,
long as those
congrats.
keep coming in, I'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to post your links below the video so that people can follow you. And I highly recommend you guys follow her because she's always doing really cool stuff. The last thing I'm going to ask you is advice for up and coming singer-songwriters, advice for performers, advice for anyone who'd basically like to be in your shoes someday. I want to know how you keep such a positive attitude, even though you're in such a difficult career path.
That's a big question. I think that it's a very tough business. We're doing something that so many people want to do. And back then, where we didn't have social media and just like video at our fingertips, like, I mean, it's like, how do you stand? You have this like feeling of, well, how do I stand out amongst so many other people? But I think if you're just enjoying yourself and you do what makes you happy at the end of the day, gosh, we all are in it's you got to just live your life to the fullest like it's your last and just enjoy yourself. I think that's always been my motto, as you know, Paloma, that I love the whole love what you do, live doing what you do, love what you do. Because and it's really hard. I'm really blessed to say that I get paid to do what I love, and I think
Mhm.
it's just that it's a tough industry to be in. And as a creative, I think that's the fun thing is like don't limit yourself because we try to put ourselves in a little box or try and copy what other people are doing to try to make it, but we're missing out or losing out on what other things we might be able to do. And now I'm like exploring photography and all this world of commercial acting, and there's just so much at your fingertips that you can just have a good time with
Mhm.
just to bring that all out and just enjoy yourself, I guess.
And
I
what
don't
would
know if that
be
really
your
answers your question.
well, what would be your definition of making it?
uh, ah, everybody's cap of success is at such a different, I don't know. I would say I feel like I already made it because I've got family, It's just it's hard to say. I've been on a hunt to feel like I'm grounded with family, and I feel like it's gonna make me live a lot longer. So it's my priority, but everybody has a different one. It's just so individual, and music is so universal. It just speaks to everybody in so many different ways. So it's just like your limits are endless. So if you try to box yourself in, I wouldn't do that. And it's just keep creating because you never know whatever you are really passionate about. There is a good percentage of people who will follow it, no matter how small your audience is.
Hmm.
It's like focus on the small audience you have because if you try to think big, gosh, it's so easy to just give up. It
That's
really
really good
is.
advice. Yeah.
It really is. Like if you
Mhm.
just go, "Oh my god, but I want all these followers," or like, gosh, if you really realize that like maybe the 200 people that you have there love what you do, it just it if you really focus on that, I mean, it's amazing how it could just multiply.
Right. Right. Right.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, Jen. Well, this was such an amazing chat. I'm so glad we got to reconnect. It's
I
been a
know
long time
it
and
has been. I guess
Yes.
we go into each other. I'm going to LA and you're coming to Austin. We just got to check stuff out.
Pinky swear. We're
Okay.
gonna do it. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for being on this show. I'm glad we got to make it happen. It's
Thank
nice to see your pretty face again. You look great. You seem
you.
healthy. I'm really happy for you and that you feel, grounded and good and everything. And thank you for sharing your story and your advice with everybody on the right track.
Thank you so much
So,
for having me. You are totally on the right track, girlfriend.
oh, me? Thank
Yeah.
you. No, I appreciate it. This show has been really, really fun to do because it's really fun to pick people's brains to see, what their processes are and how they think about the music industry. And everyone's experience, I'm noticing, is just so uniquely different. But it's cool to be able to hear from these people,
Good
like what
at
their
it.
experiences.
You need to keep doing it. You're really good at it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, got a good thing going, babe. I love it. I love it so much.
Oh, well, thanks so much again for being on the show. Everybody, go follow Jenn. The links are down below. Please comment if you heard anything or you've been to Austin, you want to comment on that, or maybe you've seen Jenn live. I want to hear about it. Tell me if you've seen this famous dress in one of these museums. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in for this episode of The Right Track. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time on The Right Track.
Thank you so much.
Okay.